Okay. Well, welcome to everyone. Thank you for being part of this this morning's Rotary Leadership Series. This is an event that came about in August of this year as a new concept, an opportunity to try to promote leadership in several different facets. Obviously, one facet is we're looking to hear from experienced leaders, people who have insight to share based on their leadership role that they've assumed over a longer period of time. We're also using this as an opportunity to recognizing people who take on leadership challenges. And certainly there are many challenges in the world and in our community. And so we want to feature individuals who are taking on those experiences and also providing us an opportunity for insight. The third area is to recognize next generation leaders. And we think today's program is going to be a really wonderful example of that. Our speaker today is Jonah Larson. And Jonah is a worldwide celebrity. And that is not an overstatement. And it's because of a number of things, but it's because of his entrepreneurialism, his ability to take a concept, in this case, the work with crochet, and to be able to spread it out in a business model and an entrepreneurial way that is really something. He's a philanthropist, and he's doing things to help primarily people from his home country in Ethiopia. And perhaps most importantly, we feel he represents a role model for next generation leaders. So we're going to begin interacting with you, Jonah. We want to welcome you and thank you for participating this morning. What we're going to do is show some pictures that actually your mother provided them. So show some pictures and allow those pictures to serve as a framework for you to describe them. And we'll ask some questions about that. Once we get through those slides, then we'll open it up to questions from everyone here in our virtual audience. So let's get started.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, welcome again. So I described the purpose of the Rotary Leadership Series, and we're really delighted that you would help us this morning with this. The first, we'd like to kind of carry this through some of the different phases in your life. This is just one of many, many examples of the work that you're doing. I love this photo though, because it really shows the colors that you're using in presenting the work that you're doing. And so tell us a little bit about just the idea of how did you get into crochet as a concept, an area of personal interest?
I got into crochet really through a fluke, but it all worked out in the end. And it happened 8 years ago when I was 5 years old. And my aunt's a crafter, and she was cleaning out her craft room, and she had a bag of leftover craft supplies. So she brought it over to our house so me and my other two siblings could look through it and see if there's anything we wanted to try and craft with. And in that bag, I found a crochet hook. And my mom then found me a YouTube tutorial on how to make a simple striped dishcloth. And I pressed play, and in about an hour, I had a pretty well-made dishcloth. And ever since then, I've fallen in love with crochet for so many reasons. And I've been able to show that. And the way I really like to express my crochet is through the colors I choose, as you can see pictured before you.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously, over time, you become very
You should
prolific.
see this picture of him.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go back and talk about kind of the early years of your life and the phases. And this is an image of you in Ethiopia. Can you just describe what this image is showing?
That image was painted. That image was painted by an Ethiopian painter, and it's a depiction of my story because when I was just a few months old, like 3 months old, I was left under a banana tree by my mother, wrapped in a banana leaf, protected from the sun by a water trail. And then I was found by a woman from that local area, and then she brought me to an orphanage. And then when I was 5 months old, my parents came and brought me back to my home in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So that's a depiction of the story of how my beginning really.
Okay. So I've got some other images of Ethiopia as well. Describe this one here.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, can you try to share the screen again? We lost the screen share.
You did, okay. So, isn't that the way it goes here? So, I am not seeing any.
Let me give it a shot, okay?
Okay.
Is that there?
So I'm not seeing the slide presentation here. So,
Got a black screen, Tammy.
Really? Hmm.
yeah. I think I need to stop here to restart it if I'm not.
Okay.
But that's.
Okay.
You see anything now?
Now we do. Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh.
oh no.
Lost it again.
All right, we get it back. There we are. Are we back in business?
We are. There
All
we go.
right. All right. Okay. So this is a really fascinating photo here. Describe to what's happening and who are these people in this photo, Jonah?
The women in the photo pictured before you are the nannies at the orphanage that take care of me and lots of other Ethiopian children who, of course, are orphans. And that's the picture of my last day in the orphanage. And they took the best care of the babies that they could with what they had and what they were given and donated. And so there's all the nannies that took care of me in the orphanage on my last day before I go to my home of La Crosse, Wisconsin for the first.
All right. And this, I'm assuming, is you in the orphanage?
Yes, that's me in the orphanage. That's how the little beds they had us sleeping in. And that was in the capital city of Addis Ababa at the time. And that's one of the pictures that I'll always remember that my mom got. She wasn't actually supposed to get those pictures, but she snuck them. And I'm so grateful that she did do that for me. So I'd have them when I'm older.
So how did the adoption go about? Did your mom come to Ethiopia? How did that come about?
Well, as my parents have told me, my mom and dad have always wanted to adopt the kid too, along with my older brother Leif, who's their biological son. And they decided that Ethiopia was the place to do it because there was a new charter program. So they did all the paperwork and they made the very long trip to Ethiopia. And I was so sick that the orphanage almost didn't let me go, but eventually they did. So my parents brought me all the way back to the cross, and now I have my forever family and my forever home.
Okay, all right, wonderful. And of course, here you are with your family. Where was this picture taken?
That picture was taken at a local fair. Every year we do family pictures. So there's always a different theme. That one was like a summer fair theme.
Okay, all right. So, and you're in the picture. Describe your family.
So for starters, there's my little sister Mercy, who you can probably pick her out from the picture. She was also adopted from the same region in Ethiopia as I was, and she's starting to get into crochet a little bit too. And then of course there's me, and then my older brother Leif, who's a teenager and very interested in the Bucks, the Packers, and the Brewers. And then there's my dad and my mom, who are always there to support me and to teach me the best life messages and to make me the best person I can be.
Yeah, wonderful. And then this is some of your work, and your sister is wearing this.
Yes, this is a piece that I made for my sister. It's a surprise for her birthday, which is September, so it's fall and it's really pretty fall colors. And she likes shawls, so I decided to make her a shawl with some really fun fringe that I hadn't tried before. And I put it up on my Instagram and people loved the design.
Okay. Yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about your life experiences. What's your typical day look like?
Well, my typical day, that what would happen tomorrow, is I wake up in the morning, have breakfast, go on my first Zoom class of the day, do a little schoolwork, go on my next Zooms, and I'll have anywhere from 3 to 6 Zoom meetings in total just for school. And then sprinkled in there, I might have an interview, or I may speak or do a phone call for business or anything of that sort. And then I always spend time crocheting. And then I spend time with my family, playing a board game or just having family time with the dogs too. And then, of course, I wrap up and get ready for bed. And then I do it all again the next day.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So tell us a little bit about your school experience, particularly how did you do in school in the early grades, and how are you doing now?
Well, in my early elementary school, for my first few elementary school years, I was very bad behaved. But my behavior problems, they weren't because I was a bad kid. It was because I was bored. Because I was very bright and I would finish my work early and have great grades. And then my mind, instead of just sitting there quietly, it would take a more destructive route to entertain myself, of tearing up someone else's work or being disruptive or anything along those lines. And then my fifth grade teacher, she knew I crocheted, so she let me bring my crochet into school. And the next day, when I finished my assignment way ahead of everyone else as usual, I just started to crochet away. And my parents never picked me up from school again. So now school's perfect. And they've never picked me up again, except for the one occasion where I got my left hand stuck in the bleachers in middle school, and my dad had to take me in for stitches.
So the idea of bringing your crochet to school, how did your classmates respond to that?
They thought it was amazing. My older brother Leif was very protective of me, told me not to do it because he thought I might get bullied. But I said, I'm going to try it anyway. I don't care what other people think about me. And I did it, and it had the exact opposite effect of what most people would probably expect. The kids thought it was amazing how cool it was that I could just take a ball of yarn and a hook and turn it into something. And they also thought it was cool how fast I could crochet, because I can speed crochet if I want to and make items really fast, like a hat in under 40 minutes. So they thought it was pretty cool, and they actually wanted to learn themselves.
That's an amazing story. So in terms of school now, obviously, um, you're in a different spot, but also this year with school not meeting regularly. So tell me about your school experience as it's going today.
Like my school experience as it's going today, virtual. I mean, I'd always prefer to be with my friends and to be in person and be back to normal. But I do, for me and the rest of my family and a lot of other kids, there's benefits to doing virtual right now. Of course, you're staying safe, you're keeping others safe, you're keeping your family safe, you're doing the right thing. But also, the way it's structured for me and my family and a lot of other kids right now is that we can move ahead at any pace we'd like. So I'm right now several months ahead of my class of where I should be in all of my courses. So that way I can just take days just to relax and not do any schooling because I moved so far ahead with great grades earlier on. So I like that
That's, uh,
self-paced. I like the self-paced aspect of doing virtual right now.
I imagine that is really helpful for you because you're in demand, are you not?
Yeah, I lots of phone calls, 5 to 10 requests a day on social media, especially now during February, to speak and to do Zoom calls and to talk to people and to fly here and do this. Um, but it because I can go ahead at my own pace, I can get all my work done and not have to worry about it because in my house, school comes first.
Wonderful. All right. So this isn't a wonderful picture. What was the message in this picture here?
Well, I just made this the other day, because of course it's Valentine's. And I made it for my sister as a surprise because she's been asking me for crochet amigurumi because on my Instagram I've made a fox, a mermaid, a horse, all these different things. People just love them. Um, and she really wanted one for herself, so I decided to surprise her. And I brought out some really soft velvet yarn that felt like velvet after you worked it up. And they made that for her as a surprise. And she was over the moon. And that's a picture of me as right after I surprised her with it. And it was just made me so happy to see how much she loved that bear. And people on Instagram loved it. And a lot of people sent me pictures of their Valentine's bears. And I was just so happy to see all the different people that would be receiving a crochet velvet bear for the Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's wonderful to see the bond between you and your sister.
Yeah, but also on that point, it's just my bond with my whole family. With my sister wraps up my yarn for me. My older teenage brother helps with some of the social media and YouTube. My dad, he models my hats because as you saw in the picture at the fair, he's bald, so he loves modeling my hat. My dogs, they have to model some dog sweaters too and some doggy items. And then my mom, there wouldn't be Jonah's hands without her. She's my momager. She does all the communicating for my business for me. She helps me ship out my orders. Sometimes 100 orders a day are shipped out from one room in our house. It's quite a family affair, and I couldn't do it without my family. And I'm so proud to have them.
Wonderful. That kind of leads to this this next area here with your role as an entrepreneur. And tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so my business I named Jonah's Hands, as you can probably tell, because everything's centered around making and designing and helping others with these hands. And there's many aspects to my business. The first aspect is, of course, my one-of-a-kind handmade items. And really making and putting all my passion into them one stitch at a time. And the next aspect is the positive messages and using my platform to do good. And with my platform, my social medias, YouTube, Instagram, I like to spread my messages of inclusivity and doing what makes you happy, like crochet makes me happy, and all those things, and bringing the world closer together one stitch at a time that make the world a better place. But then there's also the giving back aspect, which I've done by helping rescue animals, the homeless, and veterans right here in my community in La Crosse in Wisconsin. But I've also built the library and science lab in Ethiopia where I was adopted from, so that the kids can now hold a book because they didn't have either of those things before my library and science lab that was built there. And pictured before you is some of my hand salve to make your hands very soft and to heal them. And then a DVD that I filmed of everything you need to know to learn how to start crocheting and how to make friendship bracelets and coasters out of different stitches and how to change colors. And then at the bottom left is my first book, which I published at age 11, my autobiography. Tells you a little bit about how crochet helped, more about how crochet helped me in school, and my first few items and the story of the things that I've made. And then in the top right corner, there's my pattern book, Giving Back Crochet, which, as the name implies, is filled with patterns that are all perfect for giving back, but also ideal for keeping for yourself.
How did you get into the idea of your own business?
I got into the idea of my own business because so many people were really asking for it. They wanted a way to have my items and to have t-shirts and jackets and patches and tote bags from me. And they also were requesting a book and also a pattern book, not just the autobiography. So really it was by my fan base requesting it that I started my business and wrote my 2 books.
Okay, and I would imagine you started from scratch with this, and you've got a very extensive um, business model in place. Did you have some surprises or setbacks along the way?
There has been a few surprises, but my biggest setback was really the fact that I only have 2 hands. My items are in such high demand. If I put an Afghan up that I made and put it on my website for sale, it's gone in under 5 minutes. And of course, there's so many people that always go back to my website and check daily, several times a day, to get their hands on my items. So a huge setback is that I only have 2 hands and there's just me. So I can't make all the items I would like to because, of course, I have other priorities.
And it's amazing that you were recognized just recently with the State of Wisconsin Junior Achievement Award. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so I entered because I wanted to be able to tell more people about my business, and I wanted a chance at winning that $10,000 scholarship. And I became a finalist out of all the kids in Wisconsin. And then after that, they had celebrity judges of like Craig Culver, the CEO of Cousin Subs, and speakers and people like that. And we each had to give like a Shark Tank style presentation for 3 minutes and tell them about our business and why we should win the scholarship. And then there's time for them to ask you questions. So I went, and then the 3 other kids went, and the judges chose me as the winner, so I won the $10,000 scholarship, plus a Viewer's Choice Award of additional $500, and that's really going to help me grow my business and help me become a surgeon, which I'd like to do when I'm older.
Just amazing. So social media has been a real vehicle for communicating your business, but also your life experiences. Tell us a little bit about how you started working into social media and what you're doing now as an influencer.
Yeah, so I started out on Instagram like 2 years ago, when I was 11, and it was really just for friends and family. But then what had happened is a local newspaper article went viral, And within 6 months, I rose from 1,000 followers to well over 500,000. Right now, I'm at around 600,000, so well over 500,000 social media followers.
Mm.
After that local newspaper
Wow.
article went viral, and it just was a whirlwind from there. All these different TV requests and article requests, NBC, the Today Show, Little Big Shots, Drew Barrymore's show,
Mhm.
USA Today, Oprah Magazine, the New York Times, the Times of London, all, and it just goes on, and it's just been a whirlwind, but such a wonderful experience that I'm so thankful that I've been able to have.
Just amazing. So you talked a little bit about this, about giving back, but tell us a little bit about that aspect of your business and the idea of business and helping others.
Yes, so the picture above is a picture of the kids in Ethiopia, in the region where I'm helping. But the next one is where I can really tell you and get into the story. And what it is it's about my giving back. And I've always been a very avid reader, and I've loved to read books and to really expand my knowledge and to dream and to aspire. And with the picture that you're looking at, that's a picture of the chairs and the stools and the furniture being loaded into the truck to be brought to the library that was being built. And normally they just sit on the dirt floor. And now they're sitting on beautifully painted, sturdy stools for the first time. And I just imagine the way that would feel for them. It just really makes you want to continue it all. And there's a picture of the library now that's the inside that's partially built with all the stools and desks for the kids and a cement floor. And I am just so proud to be able to look at that and to know that I worked with thousands of my crochet friends from around the world and celebrities, and now those kids can have a chance to have an education.
The power of one person's hands. It's amazing.
Yeah,
What's in this picture here?
that picture there is a picture of the science lab in progress. And that's what it's looking like so far, with all the science posters on the walls and the windows and the tables with little indents for bins for them to put their science supplies. So it's nicer than any other building that they have there, because it has a cement floor, which is unheard of in that area. So I'm just so proud for what I've been able to do with the help of so many others.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did the science lab become one of the projects that you wanted to undertake?
Well, now that they had a finished library, I also love science because there's so much you can learn. And when you look through a microscope and see something that you've never seen before from a different perspective, it really opens your eyes and makes you think about the world in a different perspective. So I really wanted them to have a science lab too. And so that's what I built them. And now I'm next working on giving them restrooms because they don't have restrooms at their school.
Mhm. All right, here's a couple of other community images. What are we seeing here?
This is a picture that really almost sometimes it brings me to tears, and so many others too. That's all the kids who are being brought there so that they can be taught how to use a library. Because they've never had a library before and they never had a science lab. So right now, they're being instructed and being taught how to use a library.
Oh, that's amazing. So that I don't want to pass over this, but tell us a little bit. Have you had any connections with the people in your former community in Ethiopia?
I mean, on my Instagrams, I have a very large following of Ethiopians, because they're very proud of how I'm supporting our country, and they like to crochet some items in Ethiopian colors as well as red, white, and blue. Um, and have been able to connect with quite a few people, and I'm just really glad of that I'm able to help others, and especially those in my community, which is the whole world. My community is the whole world. Ethiopia, every other country, and of course, my home of the United States.
Have you had a chance to visit Ethiopia since you left?
No, I've never gone back. I was originally planning to last summer, but coronavirus canceled those plans for me. So,
Mhm.
just like they've canceled a lot of other people's plans, I wasn't able to go back, but I'm hoping that I might be able to go back by next summer so that way I can see my library and my finished science lab and be able to go back for the first time since I left when I was less than 5 months old.
That's wonderful. So then you mentioned you really have had an opportunity to meet a number of celebrities and you've had some wonderful worldwide exposure. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing in some of these experiences. This was in the Today Show, third hour. Tell us about this photo and this
Yeah,
experience.
that was my first TV. That was my first TV show. I was 11 years old, and that was so fun to go with my mom and to experience New York for the first time, Times Square. And it was so fun to be able to show others my crochet work. And that really helped me launch my business at age 11 and really helped me show crochet to the world. And that was a really nice experience. And now going down to the next photo, that's something I've been doing a lot of recently. Um, Being a correspondent on the Drew Barrymore show, reviewing movies and documentaries, reviewing the books of people like Henry Winkler or Jimmy Fallon or Natalie Portman. And that's been a really nice experience. And it's really, I just always have to stop and look back and just be grateful that I'm able to have that experience that most kids aren't able to have.
Yes, that's wonderful. So you actually do, you have a function on the program, and that's the reviews of books and other things that young people might be interested in.
Yep, I'm their regular news correspondent. I'm their book reviewer, really, but I'm their kid correspondent, as they call me.
Okay.
And that is a picture of me teaching Senator Tammy Baldwin how to crochet. And it was really nice to be able to meet a Senator Baldwin because you only have 100, so it was pretty cool to be able to meet one of them.
I'm guessing that was American Family Field, was formerly at Miller Park. Is that correct?
Yep, now as you can see, formerly Miller Park, now American Family Field. That was amazing. If you're not familiar, the Brewers have a stitch and pitch night where everyone's supposed to bring in their stitching, so crocheting or knitting. And I was invited to that with my whole family, and I got to throw out the first pitch. And everybody was telling me it was super fun. I wouldn't be able to make it to the plate. But I have a video of it, and I threw a perfect strike right over the center from the pitcher's mouth. And I have it on video.
Okay, that's fun. That's a great photo, by the way. That had to be a wonderful experience. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are affecting us closer to home.
Yeah.
This message obviously is tied to the pandemic. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are with life, health, safety during this time.
Well, this is a subject that normally doesn't come through my crochet, but I do like having these conversations. It really, I did that because I felt like I needed to. I felt that I could do this with my crochet, and I wanted to really send a message, and not just about spreading crochet, but really just doing the right thing. And I did that through the stay home blanket because there's nothing controversial about it. It's just, I'm just asking you to stay home and stay safe because I don't want you to be hurt. And that's what I first started out by doing, that statement blanket. And it had such a good response that I decided to do 2 more, as you will see later on.
Mm-hmm. And those were for sale?
No, it's not for sale. I always keep these because I've only made 3, and I only make 3 of them. That's one of them right there, and then I've made 2 others that were more controversial, but I still did it because I felt like I needed to.
Okay. And of course, masks.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Are these? Tell us about the masks that you have here.
So what it is, you crochet with cotton yarn, and you crochet it's very tightly. It makes very dense fabric. But then so there's 2 layers of crochet fabric that are very tightly woven with cotton yarn. And then you also insert a surgical mask inside of it. So it's a surgical mask plus 2 layers of tightly woven crochet fabric.
Okay. All right. So it's a very personalized, stylish, but effective. This is a mask that you can use, should use.
Yep, because it's a surgical mask plus 2 layers of crochet.
Okay. So tell us about this and your messaging here.
Yes, this was after the events that happened this summer. And it was difficult for me to put this out there because I'd never really done anything that was controversial before. But I felt like it was what I had to do because I needed to do what I could to send the right messages, and being silent about it would be being complicit about it and saying that it's okay to happen if you didn't act, in my opinion. So that's what I did. I decided to take the challenge and to make the Black Lives Matter blanket. And I'm so grateful I did because it had such a good response. Of course, there's people that left and unfollowed me, but I gained way more followers than I lost because that I did the right thing. So I'm so grateful that I did do it.
Mhm. And that leads obviously to your experience living in the cross, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so most people would think that in the cross that wouldn't happen because it's just a small community. But for me and my sister, have had several occasions. Of course, I don't care because I don't care what other people think about me unless they're people I look up to. And one story that happened from our past presidency, our former president. This happened while he was just starting to run in 2016, and I was in 4th grade at the time. And a kid from 5th grade comes up to me at recess one day and says, "Hey, Jonah, I hear they're throwing immigrants over the wall, so they're going to throw you over the wall." And of course, I'm not an immigrant. I'm 100% American. And what I said back, it was the first thing I thought of. And I said, "Well, I hear they're throwing idiots over the wall, so I guess I'll see you on the other side." And that was really just the start, but it was really from even before there. Starting from when I was 2 years old and with my parents, we've had a few experiences from me and my sister.
Mhm. And you talked a little bit about the social media response, and did you have any disappointments when you put these messages out?
There were some people that were disappointed in me, and they let me know that, but it didn't affect me because I was proud to do the right thing. That's basically walking up to someone and saying, "I'm disappointed in you because you stood up and you said something and you weren't complicit and you stopped people from doing the wrong thing." And that just doesn't make any sense when you listen to it. I'm disappointed in you for doing the right thing. And my parents are always there. And if my parents tell me it's the right thing to do, I know it is because they're so successful. And just the jobs that they have and the things that they've been able to do. And going all the way to Ethiopia 2 times and rescuing 2 kids who would not have survived. That shows you they're amazing people. And I trust them with my life and I trust what they tell me. And the fact that I gained thousands and thousands and tens of thousands more followers than I lost also sends me a clear message that this is the right thing to do and you need to keep doing it.
Wonderful. And of course, here's your message here regarding the election.
Yes, it doesn't make any sense, but that's how today's world is when it comes to politics. You would look at this and you would think, would you think that this is my most controversial Afghan?
No.
No. Yeah,
And yet it
exactly.
was?
Yes, yet it was. You would think Black Lives Matter would be the most controversial, even though that should not be controversial either. But this was the most controversial. I don't see why it's controversial to tell someone to do their civic duty and to have your voice be heard. Why is it controversial to say, speak for yourself? It just doesn't make any sense, but that was the most controversial because when you put something out like that, it sends a message and people are so polarized on their mindset and their thinking that they don't see it for what it really is. But as usual, I gained tens of thousands more followers than I lost, and I was proud to hold up that blanket and to tell people to go vote. And I was so proud that I was so proud of how it turned out, and especially the flag that's right there to send you the message that I'm doing this because I'm an American.
You know, and that's one of the things that you're just such an outstanding role model for standing up for the principles that you believe in and for right over wrong. It's just a wonderful model that you're demonstrating. You know, obviously one of the things that Rotary is involved with is giving back globally, giving back within the community. Just tell us a little bit about just that part of your experience. You've given us some good examples, but tell us about what it means to give back.
Well, when it comes to giving back in my business, I do not just give back to Ethiopia. I help rescue animals because one of my puppies, Bell, who loves to model my coats for me, she is a rescue, so it really is near and dear to my heart. But my papa was a Navy veteran, so that's also another cause that I love to help veterans. And then I also help the homeless and make items to donate. And I also just crochet my one-of-a-kind handmade items to auction off for Ethiopia. But really, I do anything that I can find to give back. And right now, I've been doing lots of calls for the month of February, Black History Month, and really educating people so we can move forward in the generations because we're really having a generational change right now where we're moving and being more accepting, and I want to continue that and continue to be an advocate for that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I just have one final question that we'd like to open it up to our participants. So tell us a little bit about your long-term personal goals.
I have many goals for my long-term goals, but one that I'm really thinking I'm going to stick with is, of course, I'll keep crocheting because I love to do it and it makes so many other people happy, and it's just been a wonderful experience for me and I couldn't say thank you enough. It really would be becoming a surgeon because crochet helps in my hand dexterity, my persistence, my patience, my focus, and it's a way to help people, and it just seemed like being a surgeon would be the perfect thing to do. And now I'm even more wanting to be a surgeon because I was actually invited down to the UW-Madison surgery center, and they showed me how to do surgery. And I was able to meet the surgeons and I was able to practice. So it was, and actually I even did microsurgery with the help of a surgeon, actually underneath the microscope, really doing it.
All right, that's wonderful, and I don't think anyone has any doubt that you're going to be a successful role model as a surgeon and as a community and world supporter in the years ahead. So let's open it up to everyone else for questions here. I'm going to look
Lee,
at chat right now, and
looks like there's a question. It says, Jonah has interviewed with many famous people. Do you have a favorite person that you have met with?
Oh wow. I've met a lot of cool people like Melissa McCarthy and Drew Barrymore, Jimmy Fallon, Henry Winkler, the list goes on and on. So I just can't choose a favorite because they're all so different experiences that you just can't choose a favorite because, you know, they're all different in their own ways.
All right. I'm going to pick some of the questions that I'm seeing on chat here. Let's see. All right. This just got scrolled on me, so I
One
lost the
is-
question. Well, here was one of the questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tammy.
One is where do you get your yarn? And you must go through a lot.
Oh, yes. I would keep the yarn companies in business, hands down, but my yarn is actually supplied to me by Yarn Inspirations, which is the yarn company that I'm sponsored by and I influence for. The biggest yarn company in North America.
Tell us a little bit about how you become an influencer.
So it really started by growing, my social media is growing at an amazing rate. And then they just contacted me and asked if I could influence their products for them. So they just worked out a contract with my momager, who's always there. And that's how it started. And I've been doing it for about a year now. And I plan to keep doing it. And it's been a really nice experience.
All right. Here's a question here. What is your ultimate crochet dream project? What would you make her do?
Oh, well, I'm working on, I'm part of something coming up that's really, really cool. And it's not just me, it's hundreds of other crocheters. And we're all coming together to make something amazing. And you'll have to look for it. You'll be able to tell because it's a statement and it's big and it's going to be really impressive.
Okay. How many hours a day do you spend on your crochet?
Well, in the cold snap that we're having right now in La Crosse, oh, freezing out. I'm pretty much inside the whole day because I don't like going outside when it's this cold. But in the winter, when it warms up a teeny bit, I like to go outside and play with my sister and my older brother. So I'm up like 3 hours a day crocheting. But most of that's spent when I'm actually on my Zoom class listening to my teacher. But during the summer, it's a lot less, usually one to 1.5 to 2 around that area, because I'm outside a lot more, because I love playing outside and playing sports when it's nice weather.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to others for their questions.
Jonah, this is Eva Marie, and I've seen you on many interviews, but one that stands out to me was, I think it was a couple years ago, and you were with a famous basketball team, and you were sitting on the bench with this humongous basketball player, and you were telling him how amazing he was with the basketball. And his face, I will always remember his face. He was watching you crocheting faster. He said, I think you crochet faster than I dribble the ball. I don't know how you do that. And you're like, oh, let me show you. And you started, and his hands were all, he couldn't do it. It was all, and he was amazed by you. What was that experience? I loved that. He was just blown over by your skill and seemed so gentle, and he's this huge person right next to you. Do you remember this? Do you remember that interview?
Yeah, that was with the Globetrotter. At first I was kind of confused as you were talking about, because I was thinking you were talking about like the NBA, but
Remember?
then, yeah, and then I figured it out because of course it was a Globetrotter. That was really cool because I've actually gone and watched them before with my family. And the tricks are so cool. And I actually crochet him a pair of socks in the Globetrotter colors. So So that was really fun, and he liked them, and he actually did get the hang of crocheting after a little bit. So that was pretty cool. And my family got tickets out of the event, so everybody was super happy.
Very fun.
I do know that people want to know how they can put in an order for some of your products.
Well, I was saying jonahhands.com. You can get my book, autographed copy of my Hello Crochet Friends book, or an autographed copy of my pattern book, Giving Back Crochet. And you can't get you on my website. Whatever you get there is what you get. But on my Instagram, you can contact me and like request specific items that you see on my website. Like, oh, I'd like a twist headband in this color, and then I might be able to make it and then send you a little message when it's finished. So that way you can get there right away and buy it before someone else snaps it up in minutes. But jonahhands.com and my Instagram or Facebook, Jonah Hands or Jonah's Hands.
Okay. Yeah, any other questions? Here's one here. How do you deal with situations where it is obvious that the person is not telling you the truth and that person is a Rotarian? Well, let's start with the
Okay.
first part of that. How do you deal with something when a person is not telling you the truth?
Do you mean like in business, or someone's like, could you expand on that a little more? Like what phrase or what realm are you referring to?
All right, maybe this is from Roz Schnick. Roz, would you like to explain that?
Yes. I, you know, as Rotarians, the first thing we talk about that we say in our four-way test, is it the truth? And I have struggled with this because our previous president was not telling the truth many times. And I was in Hamburg at Rotary International, and there was a whole session on this. And they ask people at the beginning of it, these are all Rotarians from all over the world. And the question from this woman from California said, how can we say, is it the truth, and support the President of the United States? These are Rotarians from all over the world. That's why they were there at that conference.
I see. Okay. Well, yes, when it comes to people not telling the truth, I don't understand how you could say that and then support the president at that time, and be there. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. And when it comes to not telling the truth, I've had some incidences. Well, my mom's always been there to help me. And someone was taking advantage of me and my business, and my mom and I and my business. But my mom, as soon as she saw what was happening to us, she took us out of it and got rid of that person, and now it's never happened again.
So, and I'm looking, Jennifer, are you on the screen with us this morning? Because I do think we have a question for you. Just tell us a little about your experience, your family experience, your experience with all of the community attention that Jonah has received.
Oh, I have to tell you, my mom, she's not on the call right now because she's very busy with her mom is ill, so she's taking care of her with the rest of her siblings. So she's not on the
Okay.
call.
Well, we're sorry to hear that, and we're hopeful that will work out positively. I have one other question here. What advice would you give to other kids your age about being positive in the face of sometimes challenging times?
Yeah, that's a really good question for the times we're in, which of course is why someone asked. Um, and really, it's just about taking a moment every day with your families, just sit down at dinner time, and before you guys begin to eat, just go around the table and say something you're grateful for. Because no matter how hard your condition is, there's something you can be grateful for. And for me, that can be the chance to have an education. That can be the chance that my family's safe. It could be I'm just thankful to have the house that I have and the clothing that I have and the love that I have for my family and the gratefulness that I'm able to help others and to give back and for my social media and my experiences. And with just every day sit down and find something that you're grateful for because even in these trying times, everyone can find something.
Hmm. That's wonderful. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Have you been asked by friends to teach them to crochet?
Oh yes, I love to teach. I have tens and tens and over 100,000 followers on YouTube, and I've taught a lot of the kids at school. And now I'm also teaching through my DVD, which is on my website too, with everything to get people started. But now I also have kits, crochet kits that are on my website and will be in Michael's stores soon. Like here's one for example. Um, it's all the tools you need to make this hat or this pencil cup kit. And it has all the yarn you need, the hooks, the needles, all the extra tools, and the instructions all in one package. And it's the best way to get anyone started crocheting, to give them everything they need in one spot so that they don't have to try to figure out what they're gonna need for supplies.
That's amazing that you have moved to this evolution in your business at this stage in your life. It's just amazing. So, do we have any other questions? Maybe we have time for one more. Well, hearing none. By the way, there's so many comments. I'm scrolling through the chat screen here, and there's so many comments that are talking about their appreciation for your opportunity, for this opportunity to meet you and hear your story, but how you are really encouraging us to feel good about the future, that you are really representing next generation leadership, and we benefit as a world and as a community when we have people like you doing the things that you're doing. So I want to say thank you for everything you're doing and the things you're going to continue to do. We really do wish you the best in your journey.
Thank you very much, and I wish all of you the best too. And thank you for being here for this interview. And I was really grateful to have this opportunity and to be able to do this call. It was really, it fits right perfectly in because as soon as we're done, I have my first class of the day, which is Algebra 2.
Well, we'll let you go to class then. Thank you. And thank you all as participants for being part of today's program of the Rotary Leadership Series. Thank you all.